We know very little about the linkclick villains, and we know even less about their past. But there are actually a few hints in the Britain arc episodes, and there are even more on the special videos and promo pictures that were released this 2025. So as usual, we are going to overthink about them, starting with the tasty one. You remember that bizarre patient background which Vane had provided for Cheng Xiaoshi in his psychotherapy session with Wang Qing, right? In case you have forgotten some parts about it, here's a recap. The patient is the illegitimate son of a mafia boss. After his father passed away, his 9 brothers started fighting over the inheritance, plotting against each other, but they died in the end. Although he survived, he developed a severe case of paranoia. Hence that therapy session. It still makes me laugh. With Vane's personality, it is so in character of him to come up with such a crazy story that is like written for a TV drama. But what if that was actually based on Vane's own story? Vane is the mafia leader of Chinatown after all. It makes sense if he had somehow inherited such a career from his father. It even coincides with his character backstory in the alternate universe of the Pain music video. He was the youngest child of the family, and the center of power always seemed far, far away. But he only desired to climb to the very top, and a voice answered his ambition. The great fire devoured everyone except him, and as he wished, he became the master of the castle. No one, not even death, can take this blood-stained manor from his grasp. Let's now relate this to the mafia backstory. This part hints that he was the youngest among the 10 sons of a mafia boss. Then this desire to climb to the top could be related to his competition against his brothers in winning the inheritance from their father. And one of the things that they would inherit is the castle. Then this great fire must have been what killed his brothers, and he was the only one who survived from that fire. So naturally, he ended up becoming the master of that castle. There is only one significant fire event in linkclick though, and it was when this Bahati school burned. Could Vane's castle be referring to the same place? Or maybe there was another great fire? Anyway, this part implies that someone had helped him achieve his goal, and this complements Liu Xiao's backstory. We will discuss more about this later. As for this last sentence, this implies that even death cannot stop him from achieving his goals because he cannot die. This leads to the next Vane theory. Vane was dead on the last episode of the Britain arc, but he had become undead by the end of the same episode. I suppose he can't exactly be considered an immortal since he technically did die. So it seems that he is more like a zombie or any other creature that dies then becomes alive again. I suppose the production team is making it as obvious as possible to us by literally calling him the man undead in the Pain AU. But this universe wasn't the only one which made Vane an undead, because on the Halloween special, he was something like a Chinese zombie, or more particularly, a tiangshi. It is a type of undead creature or reanimated corpse from Chinese legends and folklore. This creature is also known as a Chinese hopping vampire. That explains why he and his minions were hopping as they chased Shiguang Dailiren here. These creatures are known for eating qi or human life force, but they are also known for eating, yes, like Western zombies, they may also eat human flesh. Oh my god, are you thinking what I'm thinking? You see, if Vane is indeed a man-eating undead, even in canon, that would mean those depictions of him being a cannibal in his character video are actually literal. Like, he literally eats human flesh. Then, those moments in the actual episodes when he was being pleased with the smell and taste of human flesh would make a lot of sense too. Whoa, that's so horrifying! I love it! Vane being an undead in canon would also explain why he managed to awaken after his death at the end of the Britain arc. He survived in a sense that he really died first, but became alive again sometime later. And it seems safe to assume that Liu Xiao knows about it, since he even sort of fetched Vane from the morgue on this scene. He opened the body bag containing Vane as if he was anticipating that the body inside will be coming out on its own. It might even be safe to assume that this isn't even Vane's first death. Like in the music video, maybe he really got buried in canon too. If Vane had been reviving for multiple times for quite a long time already, then the next Vane theory would make a lot of sense too. In the Map of Dreams universe, Dragon Vane's character background began with this part. No one knows how many years this ancient creature has lived. The weighing dragon always appears in the form of a handsome young man. So, this implies that Vane was an undead that had remained his youth for many years. So, in other words, he might be technically an old guy with the appearance of a young man. Oops, I mean, a handsome young man. If the zombie Vane theory is correct, then maybe sometimes he declares that the old him had died, so that the new him will act as his descendant, just to have an explanation to his youthful appearance. Or maybe I've been reading and watching too many stories with immortals. Anyway, if his youthful appearance is also something suspicious in canon, I think it explains some things in the Britain arc. First is the conversation between these girls who were bad-mouthing Xia Fei at the elevator. They were saying that Xia Fei was always with the director, who is already 60 years old, right? And who else could Xia Fei be hanging out with? So, at least to me, this is giving the impression that Vane is known as some old executive, as something like a disguise, in order to keep his identity hidden among the not so special employees in his company. And maybe that 60 years old is even Vane's real age. Or maybe my imagination was just getting wild and Xia Fei is really close to some 60-year-old director. After all, someone from the company had called him about Vane's death. Well, a mere model wouldn't be personally informed of news such as the owner's death. So he really must have had special connections aside from with Vane. Besides, Vane was described as the owner of the agency, not exactly the director. So the old guy and Vane might be different people. But wait, there's another one. Look here. No matter how you look at it, these guys look older than Vane, right? But apparently, Vane sees them as children. Well, he calls them as youth after all. He treats them like he is much older than them. Well, I consider the possibility that maybe these guys are actually younger than how they look. But they could have looked more similar to Jack, right? But I've got another one that should really question his real age. It's on his birthday photo. Look at this. Who on earth in modern times still uses an abacus at his supposed age? It doesn't make sense. At least to me. There is no way he just thinks it's cool to use. Or wait, maybe it's possible with his crazy personality. But the calculator will make him more productive, and he has so much work to do. He will definitely want to be as efficient as possible. Or maybe there is still some country in the real world with people who regularly use it, and I'm just not aware of it. Well, regardless of Vane's real age, there is definitely a childish side in him, which is a bit creepy at times. This part was also mentioned in Dragon Vane's backstory. It is said that during its travels around the world, it grew fond of teasing humans, especially when it competed with human children for food. This led to the dragon developing a love for mahjong. So it seems to imply that during the many years Vane had lived, he had been traveling a lot. So he may have originated from China, then maybe somehow settled in Britain, which will be the equivalent of Londonium in the MOD universe. And during those travels, he started to have fun hanging out with humans. And from that, he discovered his new hobby, which is playing mahjong. Adventurers who were captured by the dragon in its lair found that it just wanted someone to play mahjong with to pass the time. Ooh, I think this implies that some, if not all, of Vane's mahjong playmates are trying to scam or overpower him. But to Vane, he is just playing along with them because he was just bored or he just felt like it. Well, it's his hobby after all. However, its mahjong skills were far inferior to its ability to breathe fire. Interestingly, although he officially likes mahjong even in canon, it's not among his skills. So most probably, he really does suck at it in canon. If a challenger unluckily defeats the dragon in a mahjong match, they will be burned and turned into mahjong tiles, becoming part of the dragon's lair decoration, carrying their last desperate plea. Whoa, this implies that Vane might be a sore loser in a mahjong game. This coincides with his violent reaction when he lost to the lucky hero. And normally, when he loses, he punishes the unlucky winners by turning them into mahjong tiles. This is not surprising to see as part of Dragon Vane's background, since there are actually humans as literal mahjong tiles in Vane's character video. So yeah, I'm afraid that this information might even be canon. And that's so scary. But of course, this might be just a metaphorical representation of what Vane really does to the unfortunate humans. Maybe. But I wonder who are more unfortunate, Vane's victims or Liu Xiao's victims? Liu Xiao's appearance is so different from his parents and his brother. Well, he is the only good-looking one. Or maybe Liu Min looks decent, if not malnourished, and perhaps his parents are actually good looking when they were younger, especially if this woman from the trailer is indeed Liu Xiao's mom. Or maybe I should stop assuming that a good looking person can only be born from good looking parents. But although his parents appear to favor him too much that it's quite unsettling how much they care less about his older brother, there's still a strong possibility that Mr. and Mrs. Liu are not really Liu Xiao's biological parents. Yes, I mean, he might have been adopted. Well, I find it strange that he calls his father as his boss. Yes, the very same Laupan which Xia Fei calls Vane. Maybe he just calls his father like that out of respect, since his dad is technically the boss of the game company he manages. But I don't know. He doesn't seem to be like that with his mother though. Or maybe it will be more favorable for him if he acts like a son she can dote on. But the way he quickly and easily dismissed his mother's call doesn't seem like a son who has truly missed his mother when he came back from abroad. I didn't feel any emotion, which hints that he cares about her like a real son would. Although I'm still open to the possibility that they are his biological parents, but I've become more convinced that they are his adoptive parents. Or maybe he is similar to those with old souls that just got reincarnated into a child's body. Or maybe I just read too many fantasy stories. But anyway, if ever Liu Xiao is indeed adopted, and if this Bahati school, same school where Wang Qing was in, is also an orphanage, then maybe he actually used to study here too. That theory would connect with Sorcerer Liu Xiao's backstory. Once a distinguished alumnus of the Eastern Continent's prestigious magic academy, but this genius appears to have discovered something which changed his life forever. And that leads us to the next theory. Liu Xiao in the Map of Dreams backstory also stated this. Xiaofei's fate changed dramatically after developing a potion that could turn princesses into unicorns. This part about being able to develop a miraculous potion might have something to do with what Liu Xiao acquired, which I doubt is just referring to his super hearing. It has to be something more life-changing, like being able to grant any wish, for example. Maybe he even already had such an ability as a kid. I've been speculating that Liu Xiao was somehow able to give powers to Li Tianzhen during the period when this scene happened. So, if Liu Xiao has the ability to bestow powers to people, it would explain why he will be wanted by big-time entities. He was wanted by all 13 nations. I wonder if the 13 nations here resemble something in the actual linkclick universe. For a century, he traveled the world evading capture under the wanted notices. This part gives the impression that he had been wanted by the police in the MOD universe, and Jiley is a ranger in that universe. Wow, this matches my theory of Jiley's real target being Liu Xiao in the other video. But what's a bit unsettling on this part is it says that Liu Xiao has been traveling for a century already. Could it mean that Liu Xiao is some immortal being? Or maybe the next theory could explain it. Two music videos had shown Liu Xiao having a reflection that seems to be acting on its own. The first one was in Map of Dreams, while the other was in the Halloween special. Maybe these multiple versions of him imply that he has a split personality, or there's another version of him, like a clone or like him in another timeline. Or maybe the other him is the same him, but from another life. Like, the other him is from his past life, and the current one is a reincarnation. I'm a little convinced with the reincarnation idea because of the butterfly floating around him. One of the things which the butterfly symbolizes is rebirth, and that rebirth may be something literal to him. Well, regardless of what type of immortal Liu Xiao is, the alternate universe in pain is also strongly suggesting that he had lived for a long, long time. From the day the castle was built, he has existed, always in its shadow. This implies that Liu Xiao was already alive by the time Vane's castle was being built, which would mean he might even be older than Vane. Actually, the supernatural being he represents in the Halloween special may be connected to his potential immortality in canon too. You see, the animation production team of the Halloween special had somewhat confirmed that Liu Xiao here is based on Tomie, which is the title character of this popular horror series. I haven't read it yet, but I looked into her, so if you don't want spoilers of that manga, you might want to skip to the next part of this video. But if you don't mind spoilers like me, or if you already know its story, well, so I did a little research on her and found out that she has this supernatural ability called immortal regeneration. This ability allows any part of her body to grow into another version of her with the same personality as the original. So I suppose it is somewhat like cloning, and it somewhat makes her immortal too. So if Liu Xiao has a similar ability, then the multiple Liu Xiaos will make sense. I wonder when we will be seeing the other versions of him. But there's another trait in which Tomie is known for, which is her manipulative personality and that ability to drive others mad with obsession. That's totally what Liu Xiao is being depicted as in his character video, right? That idea also matches the next Liu Xiao theory. In MOD, Liu Xiao was also described as the potion genius was suddenly labeled as an evil sorcerer. Xiaovier himself explained, "I'm just a student." Wow, even in another universe, Liu Xiao has this habit of making himself seem vulnerable, but will make his targets literally powerless against him later. But there's certainly something evil about him, as he draws people to him by fulfilling their wishes, like on how he was described on his character backstory in the Pain universe. Some call him a spirit who grants any wish. Others call him a wraith who lures people into blissful death. It's already hinted since his character video that all those who fall under his spell will fall to their demise. I suppose this punishment is also applicable to those who didn't fulfill his conditions for granting the wish, which is detailed in Map of Dreams. As long as they followed the principle of equivalent exchange, this elegant and refined sorcerer was happy to fulfill their requests. However, no one should ever attempt to deceive him. His eyes can see through lies, and the dungeon of the wizard's tower still echoes with the angry cries of small creatures that failed to honor their part of the bargain. This is the same as with Canon Liu Xiao. No one will be able to lie to him because of his super hearing ability. So it looks like he personally punishes those who dare to deceive him. Or maybe he sometimes uses Vane to punish people for him. Vane was mentioned on this part of Liu Xiao's backstory in Map of Dreams. People with different motives came to him constantly, whether they were brave heroes seeking to defeat him, ill-intentioned bandits, or even the legendary dragon. So this would mean that a lot of people with different intentions had sought for Liu Xiao, and that includes the Dragon Vane. It's tempting to request for Liu Xiao's assistance since he doesn't seem to ask for much. But all he ever wanted was to dance with his friends. It's quite intriguing that although Liu Xiao has the capacity to manipulate people to do what he wants, he longs for people that he can call his friends. Or maybe being Liu Xiao's friend is not as simple as it sounds. Well, he is currently not exactly someone friendless since he definitely considers Vane as a friend, and it appears that that friend had asked something from him. But what did Vane ask for? Well, it's apparently mentioned in the Pain universe. The second friend was a noble who craved power. The noble awakened him, desiring a manor to call his own. He gladly invited the noble to ascend the throne of the castle, becoming its sole master. If Vane is indeed the son of a mafia boss, then he is somewhat like a noble. So this part implies that it was Liu Xiao who had helped him win the inheritance game. I wonder if he was the one who started that great fire mentioned in Vane's backstory. But anyway, if Vane was Liu Xiao's second friend, then who was his first friend? Little Xia Fei was actually shown on the episode when Cong Xiaoshi dived into the past as Wang Qing. Well, who else could this child with the same hairstyle as Xia Fei's be? Moreover, the opening team has been hinting that there is more than one survivor in the Bahati fire. So if Wang Qing is already one of them, then the other survivor is none other than Xia Fei. I think there's a possibility that Xia Fei was even the one who started that fire. Well, whether Xia Fei was the one who started the fire or not, it appears that the fire caused him to have amnesia. This coincides with his Pain Universe's backstory. A great fire robbed him of his memories. He has no kin, no place to belong to. Losing his memories made Xia Fei become separated from the family he belongs to, but it looks like he had somewhat acquired a new family after he was adopted by his mom. Yes, he is definitely adopted. After all, on his profile in the police records, his birth of place is unknown. And that is something impossible for his biological mother not to know, right? Anyway, if Xia Fei is adopted, then what about his real family? Because of Xia Fei's appearance, and as what Cong Xiaoshi had somewhat confirmed, he is multiracial, most probably half British and half Chinese. I don't know if those races have something to do with Bahati or the supernatural powers in the linkclick universe. But regardless of his original race, the map of dreams is implying that he is of royal blood. Maybe he's not really a prince, but more of something similar to a prince because of how wealthy his family is. Or maybe he has a superpower that is so special that it's even considered royalty among the supernaturals. But whether he is indeed royalty or not, he is definitely beautiful since birth. The young heir to the Emerald Palace, his every appearance from head to toe embodies the word magnificent. And it looks like his beauty became a literal power for him because of Liu Xiao's help. It is said that on the day the prince was born, a sorcerer appeared in the royal palace and with the spell bestowed upon him unparalleled charm. This description in Map of Dreams implies that Liu Xiao gave him power when he was still a baby. That would make sense if Liu Xiao is actually much older than he appears, and it looks like Xia Fei's power was granted because of Liu Xiao's agreement with Xia Fei's parents. Eventually, he arrived in another continent and, after a secret agreement with the royal family, however, the idea of Liu Xiao bestowing powers to baby Xia Fei somewhat contradicts to the Pain Universe counterpart. The first friend was a young man who longed for something beautiful. He gave the youth eternal life and a face untouched by time. This implies that Xia Fei, before amnesia, was Liu Xiao's first friend, and Liu Xiao granted him immortality and power not when he was a baby, but as a young man, unless the MOD version is just a popular rumor or something. But let's further discuss about the friend part on the next theory. The lore from the Pain Universe explains why Xia Fei doesn't remember his friendship with Liu Xiao, but a great fire destroyed their friendship, and he fell into slumber, waiting in dreams for his friend to return. So this could mean that they were separated after the Bahati fire. Xia Fei may have forgotten Liu Xiao because of his amnesia, but Liu Xiao didn't. This explains why Liu Xiao wanted to become friends with him. Again, there is something very special with being the first friend after all. More so if they had been so close like Shiguang are. Liu Xiao must have been so desperate for Xia Fei that he would make some excuse to make Xia Fei talk to him. You see, he could have assigned a spying job to many others, and Vane has a lot of henchmen that could help in doing the dirty work too. But nope, He wants a specific broke model to do that side job for him, and he used their mutual connection with Vane to convince Xia Fei to do it. So it's like he only wants Xia Fei to do it so that he can have a reason to interact with him more. Oh my god, I wonder if it's canon or I'm just hallucinating year near Liu Xiao. I considered the possibility that maybe Liu Xiao intended it to be Xia Fei because he was trying to align things with fate or something like that. You know, like there is some deeper purpose or meaning and Xia Fei had to be the one to do it. But I think another possibility is that Liu Xiao only wants to assign the job to people he trusts. And Xia Fei is someone he considers trustworthy, a friend he can trust. Anyway, it's really convincing that Liu Xiao deeply desires to win Xia Fei's friendship because of this scene at the movie theater. Remember how he got distracted when Xia Fei called Shiguang as his friends? The person who looks like he couldn't be unfazed with anything was suddenly distracted. Of course, that would only make sense if what he had heard had bothered him a lot. After all, Xia Fei only knew Shiguang for a few days, but is disgusted with the idea of even considering Liu Xiao as a friend despite knowing him for much longer. You can sense the jealousy in Liu Xiao about that friendship, but he is also very quick in acting calm again, so it's not that obvious. Or maybe I'm just imagining things and Liu Xiao may have gotten distracted for different reasons. Liu Xiao appears to be aware of Xia Fei's dark side after all, so it may have caught him by surprise if Shiguang considered someone like him as a friend. But what could be something about Xia Fei that would make Liu Xiao so shocked that he is able to acquire normal friends? Xia Fei in the Pain AU is being depicted as a monster who lures people with his beauty. He is a wandering vampire who walks in the shadows. His prey often gasped at his striking beauty just before being devoured, yet he could not glimpse even a trace of it in the mirror. This gives the impression that although he is aware that people find him beautiful, deep inside, he doesn't see himself as beautiful at all. Maybe he even sees himself as ugly or deformed, which would explain why he has the Jason get-up in the Halloween special. Perhaps those insecurities or dark secrets are the reasons why Xia Fei was wearing a mask. Or maybe this has more relation to the title of his character song, which is Renting Skin. So that mask might mean he is hiding his real self, or he actually has some ability to pretend to be someone else. Which reminds me, there's a popular theory of him having shapeshifter abilities. So if Xia Fei has such a power, and he can pretend to be Vane, it is assumed that this Vane is actually Xia Fei seeking revenge. But I don't like that idea. Any idea of Xia Fei trying to kill Shiguang would break my heart. However, I can still imagine Xia Fei killing people. There are so many hints of Xia Fei having a dark side after all. He even has some suspicious facial expressions in the Britain art, but there's still not enough hints that would confirm it. It might be more convincing if Xia Fei is also some sort of immortal like Vane and Liu Xiao. After all, the Map of Dreams backstory has mentioned that Liu Xiao gave him eternal life. Moreover, a vampire can live for many years, and there are versions of Jason being an immortal too. But for a seemingly dangerous monster, he is very, very lonely. It even seems that he is begging for someone not to leave him. Despite having many people admire his beauty, deep inside he doesn't feel very happy. It coincides with his prince character in Map of Dreams. Though his appearance shines like the radiant sun, there's always a trace of profound, elusive depth in his eyes. Maybe he is longing for something or someone. On quiet, solitary nights, the prince often stood alone on the castle's highest tower, gazing at the distant stars as though searching for something. That reminds me of this scene from the Britain arc ending theme. Why is he looking at the clock tower? I can't help but think of it as a reference to Vane, since Vane is shown beside it in the Britain arc opening theme. Or maybe both of them happen to have some connection to that clock tower. After all, this was also mentioned in the MOD backstory. A giant dragon also left its mark on the city walls, signing a secret pact with the royal family. This part implies that Vane knows about Xia Fei's real family, but what could that secret pact be? The delusional me is assuming that he had sworn to protect Xia Fei since long ago, which would explain why he is being very protective of the current Xia Fei. Then that would make both Liu Xiao and Vane remembering Xia Fei of the past, while Xia Fei doesn't? What? Anyway, maybe what is being hinted as what Xia Fei is searching for is his real family, like to go back to his original home. And maybe, sometime later, he will return to it, as what has been hinted in his Pain Universe backstory. After countless years, he arrived before a familiar ancient castle, drawn forward by unseen threads into the manor's shadows. A voice gently called out to him, "Welcome home." But whose voice could this be referring to? Anyway, have you become overwhelmed with the many potential lore behind these hot villains? But what if I tell you that we can actually put them all together? I have different versions of their summarized backstory, and maybe I'll share them in another video. But of course, the theories, interpretations, and observations that had been shared in this video could be completely wrong. So whether you agree or not, that's okay. There may be changes or corrections once we learn more about them. By the way, did you know that in one of Li Haoling's interviews, he had hinted about having a new series of chibi specials, but with the villains next time? Oh, I'm so excited! But regardless of their past, let us believe that they are going to have a happily ever after. Look how precious they are if they were in a Slice of Life series. Putting aside Vane's underworld job, they hang out and eat together from time to time. Look at them, supporting Xia Fei and having fun, teasing Liu Xiao. They are just as wholesome as Shiguang Ling, so I am not losing hope of all six of them becoming friends in the end. Okay, I hope you liked the video and didn't cringe too much. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Take care!